I'm Greg, and you're listening to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable. Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable.
Hey, Greg,
Yes.
did you hear who we have on the podcast today?
Who do we have today?
We have Coach Alexander Hoglund.
Oh, from the article.
Yes, yep.
Whoa. In demand. He's doing great things, I mean.
He is. He's not only coaching the Rogers soccer team, he's building a little soccer community down there.
That is great. From what in our past interviews, we definitely have heard about the community and the absence of soccer opportunities. So this is great.
Yep. A lot of Spanish speaking kids. English is a second language in Newport that haven't had a really good place to connect to anyone. And I think this is it.
This is. He's doing some good things. That article just named a few. So it's going to be really good to dive into see actually, what he has going on and what that culture is going to look like when he puts it all together.
Yep. Can't wait.
Without further ado.
Hi, everyone. We're here with Alexander Hoglund, or Coach Alexander.
Hello.
Hi. So Greg and I heard about you from the Newport Daily News, I believe. We read an article about a coach who was doing great things with the high school boys soccer team. And we just wanted to reach out because we know how important that bond between young kids and a coach is. But before we get to that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I will. Special shout out to my friend Steve Rogers for that fantastic interview that he put in the Newport Daily the other day. I really appreciate that. I'm Alexander Hoglund. Thank you for having me on the podcast today. I am, like I said, I'm from Portland, Maine originally. I grew up in Maine with my two brothers and my parents. I've been playing soccer and really sports, my whole entire life. The first sport I ever played was hockey, and I was skating at, the age of 4. When you're up in Maine, there's a lot of winter time, so it's a popular thing to do. So I originally started playing hockey, when I was 4, and my mom was always a big soccer fan. So around 5 or 6 is when I first started playing soccer, and from there, I don't know if I've stopped. I played all the way through elementary school, played in high school, and then I had the opportunity to attend Salve Regina University, where I played there for about 2.5 years, and then I had the opportunity to go study abroad in Spain, and got to play at the university over in Sevilla, Spain. And since then, after my collegiate career ended, I'm local in Newport, been playing around on the island. I play for Newport FC. It's kind of like a collective kind of, it's like a men's league, but it's different. Each town has their own affiliate team. And yeah, so soccer has just really kind of been looking back at it now, a pretty underlying theme in my life so far. And I think the opportunities that it presents and that it can bring and the impact it can have is very what's the word I'm looking for? The magnitude of the impact is it's humongous. Like I said, I have 2 younger brothers, and one of my middle brothers ended up playing football and hockey as well, and he ended up getting a couple concussions along the way, and he was told how to switch to soccer. He ended up switching over to soccer, and he loved it as well, and it just kind of became kind of like a family ritual. On Saturdays and Sundays we were going to games, or we were going to this game, and both my brothers now or have graduated, and one's still in college, and they all have been able to play at college. One brother's at Bryant University currently playing, and the other one graduated from Stonehill, and he played all 4 years there as well. So
I know the goalie at Bryant. I wonder if your brother must know him.
Now, you mentioned that you got to go abroad to study abroad, and you played, I'm going to say, football out there.
Yes.
So
Nice, Greg.
did you notice a difference? I mean, you were playing at the collegiate level at Salve, and then you went abroad. Did you know what's the difference between it?
I think that's a really good question. And I think that is kind of what drives my philosophy a little bit. Not so much, not just completely with soccer, but just in life in general. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to leave the United States and kind of see how the rest of the world operates. Europe is a very sociable country, and how, especially in Spain, that some things that they do in Spain are a lot different than they do here in the United States. In the United States, football is kind of categorized as a more physical, a more athletic game, where especially in Spain, it's more of a dance. You know, it has a little bit of romance to it. It has a lot of patience with the game, and whereas the American kind of way of football is we're getting the ball and we're jamming it down your throat until we can get into the net. So that was kind of one of the things that I naturally saw. One of the first times we were playing is that I never saw long balls over the top. That was one of the things that, like, you know, because I've always been a relatively shorter person, so I kind of base my game on, you know, tactical and technical skills, and also being quick and fast. One of those things I never saw was them just the midfield getting it, looking up, and just putting the ball over the top and having the striker run onto it. It was always like they call tiki-taka, and just short passes and people moving. There was times we'd possess the ball for 10, 15 minutes right in that middle circle, just keeping the ball, you know? And then when that final opportunity opens up, or when that defender, the center back, drifts just a couple steps, that's when that through ball is getting played to it. And that's when that pass is right onto the striker's foot, and then you're right to net. I say like a dance because it's a lot of building back and forth, and then boom, you hit that final spin, and that's that shot on net. That's, you know, that's the attacking chance that you're getting. And I think just the way they go about how they play football or how they play soccer is something that I wanted to bring with us, you know? It's very easy to fall in the routine of, you get someone who knows how to score a couple goals up top, happens to be fast, and it says, okay, guys, get the ball, kick it to him, right?
Right.
Any other coach that is playing against us will say, hey, take 2 steps back and mark up on him. And then, you know, your offense is starting to dwindle. So I really kind of wanted to bring the whole, how you approach the game and how the game is approached, that I learned being over in Spain, back with me to the United States and back into the Rogers High School program now. I think it's a great way of how they look at the game, how they prepare for the games. And they're very big on communication and teamwork. You know, I always say to the kids, we are going to win as 11 and we will lose as 11, right? And how you build up, it starts right from the goalie, right? And then it comes up from the defense, and then you move to the midfield, and then you need the attackers to finish it off. But I think sometimes with the American way of football, it's now changing, as, you know, as football becomes more and more popular over the last 15, 20 years. You know, when I was playing, it was not that, you know, people still are heavy playing football, but there was a lot more people playing football than there were soccer. And I think now the percentages are starting to even out a little bit. Just how they approach the game and how they play the game. You know, it doesn't need to be rushed, right? There's 90 minutes, but there's not a time limit to when you need to score. You know, basketball has a shot clock. Football's got a running clock of when the ball needs to be snapped. You don't need to score in the game, right? You only need 1 goal. That's all it is. We can score at 90 minutes, right at then, put it in, blow the whistle. Guess what? We won, right? And so I think that kind of outlook of how football kind of works and how soccer kind of works overseas is kind of what I wanted to bring here, as kind of, you know, as like a strategic tactic of how we are going to approach it. Because one of the things that I noticed when I was playing is, like, I was just running around. I was just playing defense. I was just chasing the ball. I'm looking around. I'm like, yo, where's the rest of my teammate? What's going on? Because, and that right there is a very fantastic counter strategy to when you're playing good teams. You know, if you don't have the ball, you can't score. But if you don't have the ball, you have to chase the ball. And chasing the ball means you're running. And if you're running for 90 minutes, you're going to be tired. And when you're tired, you make mistakes. Mistakes equal opportunities for our team or the opposite team. And that's the game right there. Yeah, so that was, you know, I really liked how they viewed the game, you know, how wasn't just hey, we need to put the ball in the net. Yeah, we do, but there's so many more little tiny intricate little details of how to make the game easier. It's a very simple game, put the ball in the net, but the more you can simplify that simple game, right? Make sure you're as spread out across the field, right? Make sure you're looking up when you're passing the ball. It makes it a very simple game even more simple, but the flow of it is a lot more smooth. You know, it's not like get a ball. See, I think anytime I think of American football, all I think of is a defense line, another defense line, and 25 kids in the middle of the field kicking the ball at each other. You know what I mean? One ball bumps out, and then that's what I was saying. The person up top chases it. They get a shot on net, they don't, and then, okay, let's do that again. I really wanted to spread out the field. I really wanted to possess the ball because, you know, you possess the ball, and like I said, it tires out the other team and makes our job a lot easier.
Wow. That's a great explanation.
My last experience with soccer was like my kids playing middle school soccer. So it's really this clump of kids just moving around the field. Everyone trying to get the ball.
And that was kind of, you know, going off what you said on the middle school is I was witnessing little kids and it's a little bit different over there because they have, you know, specific parks, you know, that have these little futsal nets. They have little soccer courts. Kids are playing that way when they're 3 or 4. You know, kids are learning how to dribble the ball with the left foot, learn to dribble the ball with the right foot. You know, kids know how to dribble and juggle the ball before they're learning how to shoot. Because, you know, shooting's a very, you know, very important part of the game. But if you can't get yourself into the position to receive the ball, do what you need to do with the ball, then shoot the ball, shooting's a waste of time to teach until we can do those fundamental skills. And one of those things I saw was little kids, you know, they're like sitting over on the fence, you know, looking through the fence, like watching the games. And as soon as the end of the game, they're out there doing it. And what they're doing is they're doing the same thing. They're passing back and forth. They're passing back and forth. They want to beat somebody. They want to dribble by someone. Like for them, getting a nutmeg and beating their friend was way better than scoring a goal past the goalie. You know what I mean? Because it took a little bit more skill. It took a little bit more, you know, thinking and technical work to put it through your buddy's leg than it is to shoot on a wide open net on a 10-year-old kid. So just kind of that pride, you know, that proudness of like, oh, I got 75 juggles today at practice, coach. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to get 85. Right. And just the idea that your technical and tactical fundamental skills, if those are really worked on, that the natural progression of talent will just follow. Right. As if, you know, you build the foundation of what you're trying to build. And then as you stack up, because the foundation is so solid, the rest of the things that you're adding to it just follow in suit. You know, we're teaching kids using every surface of the foot, inside the foot, outside the foot, the top of the foot, the laces of the foot, the bottom of the foot, the back heel of the foot. Right. So that way, say I am surrounded by defenders and I only can use, you know, the tip of my toe, I'm still able to settle the ball, right, and do what I need to do. Just those kind of tactical foundational skills that I was kind of seeing even at a young age, which I, you know, kind of was making assumptions like, oh my God, this is why there's such a level of play difference between here and here, is because even kids in the United States, you know, when they're playing young, they're trying to score goals. You know, if you look at it, they're playing from the 18-yard, you know, inside the box into where the net is, and they're just shooting on net. But then if you ask the same kid who's been shooting on net, hitting the top corner, if he can make a 10-yard pass in between 2 cones, 2 feet away, wide, off the ground, in the air. And for me, I just wanted to shake things up and kind of reset a little bit and just get foundationally and tactically sound and know that was secure. So that way we could keep building from there. And then I felt like once you get the simple kind of ideas done, then you can start complexing things. And then you can start saying, okay, when you take a touch here, turn your body this way, you know, then you can start adding more complicated moves, more complex steps. But without that foundational skills, I think it's very hard to kind of build on what you need to build on. And I think it's difficult for kids to progress and kids to get better when they've missed those skills. And like you said, it starts at a young age. And what I'm trying to do here is really trying to build not just the Rogers varsity program, but build the program in Newport. You know, we have so much talent here. We have so many kids here that Middletown and Portsmouth steal every year and charge them more money to go play. Because we don't have teams here. We don't have a league here. So we lose a lot of kids that go play different places, and what we're trying to do, you know, myself and the people I work with, my brother, my assistant coach, the athletic director, Mrs. Chavez, and tons and tons of endless support from parents, and Totally Preventable podcast like yourself has been fantastic as well. We're trying to build, like I said in the interview, a culture of soccer, you know, not just a program or a pipeline. We want to build a culture around it. And when I use the word culture, I think sometimes people think of it in the typical use of, you know, the Spanish culture is very different from the American culture, but the culture in a way that soccer is more than just a game, right? You know, for a lot of these kids, especially because a majority of the population here in Newport is a Hispanic population, a lot of this is bigger than soccer, right? I got kids that are on the bus watching their games on the phone as they're putting on their shin guards. You know, soccer for a lot of people is a way of life. And I don't think we see that so much in the United States because it's they're hidden behind football and baseball, which, you know, it's America's pastime sports. It's rightfully so, but I'm just trying to kind of bring that out a little bit here, and kind of unearth it, you know, from being kind of pushed down by the Rogers football or Rogers basketball or football and basketball in Newport, which are I was a little confused because there's a humongous population of, you know, of people that want to play soccer, and especially Hispanic people that would love to play soccer, and they just didn't have a place to go, and they didn't have an outlet to do it as well.
That's what drew our eye to your article, was because we have been talking to some organizations in Newport and who help the Spanish speaking population. And they were talking about all these kids. There's all these kids that are Spanish speakers,
Yeah.
and they're dribbling soccer balls around down the street and in the
All over the place.
basketball court and everywhere. And they need a better outlet to play soccer. It's their thing. It's what they look forward to. It's where they make connections. So then when, you know, your article came up, we were like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, when they think of Newport, they just think of the mansions and very affluent people. They don't actually realize that there is a very large Spanish speaking community.
And a significant amount of demographic and socioeconomic issues in Newport. I was fortunately enough to get my master's at Rhode Island College in special ed last year, and one of my theses for my graduation was the demographics of Newport. Newport is about 60% Hispanic, and that's the minority population, is the majority population here in Newport. Like you said, preseason we had low numbers. Coach and I hopped in the car, drove down the street, drove down for a couple days, and over at Braga Park, you see it at Vernon Park, you see it just at the MLK courts, you see it on the field over by Salve, kids just kicking the ball, playing the ball, you know. And we were driving up, hey, do you play soccer? Do you want to come play soccer? It's like, oh, I didn't know we had a team. I didn't know there was someone on the team. And like you said, I think that language barrier of people being able to speak Spanish and understand Spanish was really a detrimental fact to us. Like I said, we roster right now we have about 27 kids, and I would say 19 or 21 of those kids are Hispanic Spanish speakers, English language as a second language. And that's one of the things that I think was looked at as almost like a hindrance, right? It was looked at as like, oh my God, it's not going to be a successful team because you have one group of kids that speak this language, one group of kids that speak this language. How are you going to get them to work together on the field? And I think it almost was turning people away, turning people off about the idea and about wanting to do something that I'm trying to embark on. And for me, I think being able to live extremely fortunate circumstances to being able to live in Spain, it really kind of provided me with the tools. And like I said, I keep going back to the foundational skills, you know, to do what I'm trying to do now. Like you said, the population of people, and not just kids, but families that love soccer, families that are super engaged and want to be more engaged with it was enormous. You know, we've had parents reach out, oh my God, he hasn't played because he didn't know, you know, we don't really speak English. We didn't know how to communicate with the coach. We weren't sure what time games were. A lot of my kids on my team are working jobs. You know, I got kids that don't make it to practice because it's like, hey coach, I called out twice this week. No one can cover my shift. I have to work. So those are just kind of the obstacles, you know, and kind of circumstances we continually deal with here in Newport that I think, like you said, people don't realize about. People think it's like, oh, let me go look at the breakers. Let me go get some oysters and shrimp down by the water. But you don't realize you come a couple blocks up and that's not the reality of where we are. It's just not, and I think trying to and bring that to light, not in a bad way, but bring it to light to say, this is what we are, you have to be real about what we are and who we are before we start trying to become something different. We have to come back. I keep saying about the culture, you have to come back and start with the culture and bring it up, because you have a population that loves soccer, that lives and breathes soccer, that is instilled in the roots. Hispanic people, like I said, from Spain are passionate about soccer. Argentina, Mexico, Honduras, Panama, everywhere, it's a fire, that kind of defines, Hispanic people when it comes towards, their sports and stuff like that. And I think that's what we're trying to bring out and say, hey, we have this population of kids that are fantastic. How can we raise these people up and get more involvement and say, hey, this person was nervous like you were, didn't know if someone was going to be able to understand it, but now you have someone that understands it. Now you have someone that can work with the kids and convey messages and convey important things to parents that might not have been conveyed before, might not have been understood or lost in translation along the way, and use that to build more growth, build more of an impact, have more people buy into the program. Because it's one thing for me, to tell you how passionate I am, and it's another thing for the kids to believe it. But until the parents, and the fans of it are believing, until the random person it's on the Friday night and they're walking down the street and they pick up the paper and like, oh, Roger's got a game at 7 at Topa. Oh, I'll go check it out. I love soccer. Until we have that, that's what we're trying to do, is kind of build a more grand awareness of it all.
So to get that, you definitely have to build up the trust, not only with the youth, the students, but with the parents as well. So how important do you feel the role of coach is, especially when you're trying to gain that trust in a community that has a small number, in a community that prior to your efforts didn't have a recognizable program, but now you're trying to gain that trust and that commitment from this community to build up the program. So how important do you think the role of coach is?
I think that's a fantastic question. You guys on this totally preventable podcast, you guys came with the big questions today. Had a lot. Those are really
What we're known for.
Amazing question. And I think it's an extreme privilege of mine to have the opportunity to go out and coach and be with these kids. Like I said earlier, I direct a behavioral support program. I've been doing it now for about 6 years or so. I cannot do my job in the school without the kids trusting that have the best interest for them. That was something I learned very, very quickly in Newport, is that a lot of these kids do not have a great trust system. Support systems might not be that fantastic. And especially when you're not speaking of the language that everyone else is speaking, you might be not understanding everything that's being said to you. Who you trust and who you go to is it varies at times for different kids. Fortunately, we are a very young team, and I know most of the kids from prior years of being in the middle school, and so that kind of rapport has been built. But going off on the trust, the magnitude of it is tremendous. Like I said, it's a fantastic privilege to be the coach, but I'm not really looking at myself as so much as a coach in that full time, as more so as I'm trying to be a mentor. I want to be that person that is there for the kids. Yeah, practice. I need you to make sure that you have your cleats on at 3 o'clock or we're going to start running. But I also need you to know that if you're having an issue at the house, right? If you're having an issue about friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, work at school, that I'm here, whatever it may be, And like I said, I have some rapport with a couple of the kids, and a couple of kids will come to me and say, "Hey, Miss Alexander, I was having a bad day the other day. I'm super sorry about it. I just want to let you know, and I'll get back on track tomorrow." Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. How can I help? Do you need to talk to someone? Do you need me? Do you want to stay after practice? Do you want to get some extra reps in and stuff like that? Just being someone there. It's not even about just what you do, but just to know that you have someone there, right? For me, one of the first things I learned is that I could be in a room and they would not say one word. They could be super upset, bothered, hate the world, not say one word. But when they look up from their head down and they look and they see me just sitting there like, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm here. That sense of just security, that one person, right? Just at least one person is there for you, really goes further than anyone could ever imagine. And so I love coaching. And like I said, it's an extreme privilege of mine to have the ability to help these kids get better in what they want to do. But I'm not making 30 future soccer players. I'm trying to make 30 future successful people in society, people for other people. I'm trying to grow, grow these kids so that they are successful in whatever endeavors they want to do in life. Because whether you go pro or whether you don't, and whatever you want to be, whether you're a teacher or a doctor, a chef, a veterinarian, whatever it may be, I'm trying to teach those skills so that we're successful, not only on the field and off the field, but in life, right? We're successful persons. We're people for others is one of the things that I always say, is try to be a person for someone else, right? When someone else is down, instead of being like, "Yo, okay, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?" A pat on the back. Come on, I know you could do this, right? Like I said, and you'll probably hear me say it quite often, is we'll win as 11, we'll lose as 11. And it's very easy to point fingers and complain. It's one of the easiest things to do. It's a tough thing to accept it and find a positive outcome from a negative situation, right? Hey, you just made 2 or 3 bad passes. Hey, don't worry about it. I've seen you in practice 3 or 4 times make that same pass. Do it again next time, right? And just kind of building up rather than kind of diminishing it in a way. And so I think that trust is, I really couldn't do anything without it. You know what I mean? I need people to believe that when I'm yelling at them across the field and telling them to go somewhere, that they believe that I'm doing it in their best interest, right? And I think that's what we've been able to build. And fortunately, it's a very young team. So the rapport that we're building hopefully will carry with us the next 3 or 4 years as new generations come in. But that trust is everything. I mean, I feel like, when you can trust someone and come to someone and say, "Hey, I keep doing this and I'm not getting better. How can I get better?" Right? That takes a little bit of vulnerability, to ask someone, how can I get better? "Hey, coach, I'm not getting a lot of playing time. What can I do to get on the field more?" That right there takes a little bit of vulnerability, and it also takes responsibility on the student and the child to achieve what they want to achieve. And right there, like I said, we're building skills that should translate on the field, outside the field, and then into life, And so the trust is everything. And I don't know if I would have been as successful. I don't know if our program would be as successful as it is now if we didn't have the trust of the students, the players, and not just the students and the players, but the parents. Every day parents are trusting me with their kid, to make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing, right? That they're not getting into trouble, that they're not doing things that they said they're not doing. And another huge thing, especially in Hispanic families, is this idea of trust, right? They have the immediate family is a very important thing, but then it's almost like you're outside immediate family. It takes a village to raise a child. So the communication between me, parent, uncle, and mom is extremely important, because that is the support system for a lot of these kids. I am the coach, but I'm also not just the coach, you know, it's, if I have a problem, I got to go talk to coach, or I can coach help me, you know? So it's just, it's not just being on the field, it's being there in totality, you know, whether they need me or not, just being there, I think, you know, gives them that, you know, support that they need.
Do you think being a behavioral health specialist helps you be a better coach?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 150 million%. I have my master's degree in special ed with a focus on you know, behaviors mild to moderate, and then I also have my other master's degree in behavioral psychology with a focus in applied behavioral analysis. So body language is humongous. You know, I spend, even in my school, I spend about a month and a half on body language and nonverbal social cues. Sometimes what you say is way more, or what you don't say is way more important than the things that you're saying. You know, just how you hang your head. And I think, especially with the language barrier, I speak Spanish, but sometimes not, you know, as fluently as someone who's been born and raised speaking Spanish their whole life. So for me, a lot of it is it's not just a one, you know, one-dimensional thing. It is, okay, he's saying this, but he's on the bus ride, he was sitting down like this, hunched over the whole time. In warm-ups, he's like, you know, kind of not really, you know, not really moving the way he does. Hey, why don't you come over here? Let me talk to you real quick. You know, hey, you look like, you know, your body language doesn't look great. You normally kind of have a little more energy into you. Is there something going on? Do you want to talk about it? You know, and then, like I said, going back to that trust thing, a lot of times they'll let me know, hey, yeah, I had a tough day, you know, something's going on at the house, blah, 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 blah. And we kind of can work through it. And I think that skill, you know, that practice that I have, and, you know, the experience I have, you know, from school and working and whatnot, really truly helps me out a lot. Because your body and, you know, your facial expressions tells everybody everything, you know, and a lot of our body movements and expressions are involuntary too. So you can't control some of the things that, you know, you might not want to react like, but you do. And so then I know, okay, you look like you know, there might be something going on over there. Let's work through it. And I think that ties in with the trust part, that, you know, they trust me enough that if I do see these things, or if they, you know, are kind of not themselves. In high school is a difficult time for anyone trying to figure out and be who they are naturally. So it's a lot of uncomfortableness. You know, you're growing up, your body's changing, your mind's changing, your life is naturally changing. I think having the trust to come to me and to talk about these things and ask these questions, it helps out tremendously. But I don't know if I would be able to do it as effectively without, you know, the background that I have in understanding, you know, human behavior and where it comes from, you know.
That's awesome, because just piggybacking off of what you were saying earlier about just being there, I can just imagine as a high school student who's already having difficulties and barriers, you know, trying to figure out where they belong, all the peer pressure, academic pressure, language barriers.
Yeah.
And then just having somebody who has the skills to just see, you know, to notice that your shoulders are slumped or your head is hanging low, I'm going to initiate that conversation.
Yes.
For that student, it must be like a breath of fresh air. Like, I didn't have to make that first awkward step to ask coach for help. Here it is. He came to me and now I can just let it out. And that is a great skill to have. I can just imagine what a relief that brings to students.
I appreciate it. I think you hit that right, the nail on the head, is that it is an uncomfortable time. And like I said, it's that sense of vulnerability that you have to go ask someone, right? Because they might say no, or they might not react the way you want to react. And that right there, for a high school kid, I think adults have a difficult time asking for help, but being a high school kid asking for help is quite difficult as well. So I think, like you said, I try to be as proactive as I can and try to, you know, like I see, if I see someone with their head down, hey, what are you up to? Hey, you want to help me out? I need some help grabbing the balls. As we're grabbing the balls, gives us 5 minutes to talk about whatever the heck could be going on. If it's something big going on, maybe it's something big. Maybe it's the girlfriend hasn't responded to his text in the last week or so. And then it's something small, and then we can, you know, work through it from there. But whatever it may be, it's like that proactive approach, you know, because if one person isn't focused, isn't in it, right? Then, like I said, the rest of us aren't as well. You know, we're gonna win as 11. We're gonna lose as 11. You know, we're gonna get to that finish line with 11. Whether two people are having a bad day and we need to drag them with us, we're 11's crossing that line.
Right.
And if not all 11 cross the line, get back on the other side of the line until the 11 all can make it across.
Right.
Does Rogers have a soccer team? I'm sorry, Thompson.
Yes, Rogers does have a soccer team.
Yes.
Fantastic coach, I heard.
Oh, really? We'll have to get him on the show.
Thompson
Thompson.
does. Thompson has a fantastic soccer team. Myself and Dan Kurlock Dan Kurlock has been coaching them for the last, I believe, 5 or 6 years, maybe 6 or 7. And then before I moved over to Rogers, I was able and fortunate enough to work with him and help coach the Thompson middle school boys. Couple sophomores on my team. Now we're 7th graders when I first started coaching at the middle school. So that's where the whole sense of rapport and, you know, kind of building from the foundation up kind of comes into play. They are a fantastic team. The last 4.5 years, I think, since Dan and I have been working together, we've improved our win record every year. We made playoffs last year and they made playoffs this year as well. Prior to last year, the most wins ever in a Thompson middle school season, I think, was 3 or 4. The last 2 years we've had 5 wins. The first year we tied the record, and then the year after that we had 4, and then, like I said, the last 2 years we've had 5 wins, and we've slowly been able to bring, you know, kids up through the program, you know, so that, like, the kids who are seeing me at practice are now seeing me at high school practice. There's times that Dan and I, it was like I said, 110% appreciate him for letting me have the opportunity to help out, and kind of get my foot in the door with it all. I go to games and I like to go to practices. Like I said, it's a culture. It's not middle school, high school, and then see you later. I'm trying to build a continuity. You know, I want it so that the middle school players know who the high school players are. The high school players know who the middle school players are. The middle school players are coming to watch the high school games and vice versa. My Salve coach, Craig O'Rourke II, is a fantastic human being and a great mentor to me. And he's even been able to reach out, and when I've reached out, has been extremely reciprocal of helping out and saying, yeah, bring the boys to a game. Have the boys come check out a practice. Have the boys come here, you know. In the off season, you know, maybe a couple of the Salve kids come run a practice with us. Just to kind of build that continuity, you know, that line of, like, it starts when you're young, right? Let's get the kids that want to come play soccer, watching Rogers soccer games, come and watching Salve soccer games. PC, you know, URI. There's so many fantastic places for people to watch soccer and see high levels of fantastic soccer. That's what we're trying to build. And I think it starts, you know, like I said, at that foundation, at that young level. So we're really trying in the next couple years here is to build it up in Pell. You know, start at the elementary school. So that way 3rd graders, 4th graders, you know, 5th graders are playing, they're practicing, they're kicking the ball, because the middle school rule is you're not allowed to play until you're in 6th grade, just because it's 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So 5th graders aren't allowed to play. So if you're looking at that as a foundational building point, you're taking a year off from soccer, right? And take a year off from anything, it does not help the progression of it. So we're trying to build, you know, like I said, a place for that young kids can get touches on the ball. So, you know, 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders are kicking the ball, playing with each other, passing with each other. So then when they come to middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are still the same 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that have been playing with each other. One thing that makes Middletown and Portsmouth so bitterly and bothersomely successful is that those kids play with each other since they were young, right? You go to Portsmouth Elementary School, you're with the same kids, you're in the middle school, you're with the same kids in the high school. And by then, not only have you known the kid, but now you're playing with the same left mid you've been playing with for 10 years.
Right.
I could play with someone for 2 years and I know every run he's going to make, let alone 5 or 10. And, going back to that initial question that you asked me is, so many of our kids go and play in Portsmouth. So many of our kids go and play in Middletown, build a rapport with the 4 Middletown kids that play on the midfield with them, and then have to come into Thompson or in Rogers and then play against the kids that they've been building the chemistry with. It in my opinion, it's detrimental to the kids that are playing in Newport, because you're not allowing a Newport community to build itself and grow itself, right? Middletown and Portsmouth keep getting better, as they're taking kids that are able, to afford it or able to play over in Middletown and Portsmouth. So I'm just really trying to, start. We're growing them from the seedlings. We want to start them young. I want, 3rd or 4th graders. I want 2nd or 3rd graders being like, hey, when can I come play? When can I come practice? When am I going to be able to come play? Because that right there is how you buy people in. And as those numbers increase, right, then more people buy into it. You could walk down Newport any day of the week, ask a little kid, what sport you playing in high school? Oh, I'm going to play Rogers football. I'm playing for Rogers football. My cousin played for Rogers football. My uncle played for Rogers. I'm playing for Rogers football, right? It's instilled naturally, right, from these kids, because Rogers football has been such a successful program over the years. Rogers basketball has been such a successful program over the years. Even Rogers volleyball, shout out to Aaron McGloin, a fantastic friend and an amazing volleyball coach. That program has been gaining popularity over the last 4 or 5 years too. You know what I mean? And all I'm trying to do is kind of see like, wow, this is growing. We have such a massive population of people and interest in the sport. Why aren't we growing as well? And trying to do the things, little things, right, to slowly kind of build that up. And that starts with, like I said, Pell starts at Thompson. The parent support has been fantastic. We've had parents at Thompson reach out and say, hey, what can my kid do to get ready for next year? What can my kid do to help get prepared for preseason? And the best thing about it is, what parents are asking, what can I do to help support the team? What can I do to make the team's life easier? It's little things. It's like away games. Finally, the kids have meals on away games going home, right? That was one thing that the kids didn't have. Like sometimes if a parent would drop off chips or something, now every time we go on an away game, it's at least a sandwich, a Gatorade, a water, a cookie or brownie to, bring your sugar levels up, and then like a little fruit snack or something like that, right? Every single kid gets that as they come on the bus on an away game, right? And the thing is going back, it's a big circle here on Totally Preventative Podcast. It's just a big roundabout of all the questions, and I like how all those are really tying in. You guys are doing a fantastic job.
Because we're all about prevention, I really like the connection between the younger kids and the older kids. Like when you said the younger kids know the high school kids, I find that to be like a really big protective factor. I think like if you're looking up at these kids that have been where you've been and they're making good choices and they're part of a successful team and they have good relationships with their other teammates, that's really important to be successful anywhere, not just on the soccer field. And that's an important part of being a team that I think a lot of people overlook. They think about it just as the sport and not the whole connection to everything else and how things affect you.
I think having a role model that one, is a fantastic thing, but one who looks like you is a fantastic thing. It's one thing to, look up to someone, but it's another thing to look up to someone who also comes from the same place you come from, has, looks the same way, has the same color skin, hair that you do, and then also is passionate about the same things you're passionate about. I can be whoever and all these amazing great things, but I am still not, I am different from all these Hispanic kids. Like I said, I'm just a kid who grew up in Maine who happened to go live in Spain for a little bit. You know what I mean? That's all it is. and I can do fantastic things, but it's the little kid in Pell, you know, who has the last name Ramirez, who sees my junior captain scoring a goal and they screaming over the intercom, "Goal by Wilmer Ramirez," right?
Mhm.
That right there, and then they look, and then it's, oh my God. Then it's, you can envision that being you, right? You can envision that being you. And then the person, like you said, these little kids are looking up to, oh my God, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do, right? I want to go do what he's doing. And then, you know, you kind of see the imitation of it. You know, the kids they're running onto the field. They're like, you know, doing the sign of the cross as they're touching the ground. And they're fourth and fifth graders. They don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it, but they've seen the high school kids do it as they walk on, right? And they see these other kids do it. And like you said, I think just having a role model, someone there that you can look up to, but also having a role model. Let me retract. If you can have a role model there, that's fantastic. And that is so beneficial. But if you can also have a role model that speaks the same language you speak, that is from the same circumstances you're from, and looks the same way you look, right? That is going to do more and going to be more helpful than anyone could ever imagine, because it's those little things that are really going to make the difference in someone's life. And those little differences are, do I go try out or not?
Mhm.
And those little differences of buying into the program is when you're frustrated at practice, or when you maybe didn't get the playing time you wanted. And that's the difference between, all right, I'm done, I'm quitting, I don't want to play anymore, and I'm going to see it out because this is something that I want to be a part of.
Right. Just you stating that and listening, I could see why the parents and the students have that buy-in from you. It seems like the passion is there. It seems like the dedication is there, but most of all, it seems like the understanding is there.
Mhm.
And I think that is a huge, huge, just awesome characteristic that you have.
Well, I thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Another thing that I've noticed is the Go Vikings, the Rogers varsity soccer.
Yeah.
Product placement is awesome. But I must ask about the hat. I don't know what the hat.
Yeah, so this is my hat it says no solo on it. Shout out to my fantastic friends and founders, John Tora and his lovely wife, Sarah Tora. They just welcomed a brand new baby boy. Congratulations to them. A couple years ago, I might be off on the timeline, maybe 3 or 4. They started a mission that through hats, they were going to kind of spread awareness about mental health and mental awareness. So every hat that's purchased, portions of the proceeds go to mental health awareness and providing mental health support for everyone, you know, for athletes, for students, for families, and everything like that. There's a collection of, you know, even professional athletes that have bought into it and really are standing behind the message. And it's just one of those things, like I said, talking about before, you know, mental health is a humongous thing. I think especially in high school, and I think especially with the population of kids we have and the demographic that is in Newport. And like I was saying about the socioeconomic status of Newport, mental health issues and mental health problems are everywhere here. And having that support and, you know, coming back to having a role model, having someone there just to be there, it helps. And if you're right in the head and if you're in a great space in your head, then playing, it's easy. You know, playing is an outlet for a lot of these kids to kind of get that stress out, to kind of get these frustrations out. So mental health awareness and just, you know, mental health in general is kind of a very big passion. And it's a very, you know, motivating factor of trying to help these kids. You know, because it like I said before, it's not just skills on the field, but it's skills that you take with you in life. You know, if you're frustrated on the field and we're down a goal and you need to solve a problem of how we're going to get the goal to tie, right? That takes skills. That takes you working through frustration. That takes you not giving up, right? And you translate that and generalize it to bigger and more grandiose things in life. Like maybe you're at work and you have to work with someone you don't want to work with. Are you going to get out? Yeah, exactly. He's like, I know this one personally. No, right? You know, if you don't want to, if maybe you have to work in a group that you don't want to work in, right? Or maybe you're told, you know, to do a task that might not be the most preferred. You got a couple options. You within yourself, where most of this happens, within yourself, you either work through it and complete what you need to be done, or within yourself, you tell yourself, I don't want to do it, and you remove yourself from the task. I tell the kids it's very easy to quit, super easy to quit. All you have to do is get up and walk away. That's one of the easiest things to do, or just don't show up. It's very easy. It is a more demanding task to ask you to show up every day. It's a more demanding task to ask you to come and put in work after you've already worked 7 hours in the day. And I know I am asking, and I do demand a lot of my players and the students, but like I said, it's so that these skills and the foundation skills that we're building follow with us, so that I've worked through 4 or 5 problems on a field. I know how to, overcome adversity. I know how to overcome diversity. So now when I'm in college or when I'm in the workforce and I'm put into this situation, I already have the foundational skills with me so that I can be successful in that field as well.
Well, thank you so much.
I have to say, thank you very much. Totally Preventable podcast has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for reaching out. Like I said, it's been extremely humbling experience for me. Extremely humbling, experience for me, because like I said, I had a mission that I was, trying to accomplish, whether it was inside my head or not. And then to see the support that is there is, like I said, is extremely humbling and extremely reassuring fact to me. Sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes, we're showing up to games with 16, 17 kids because we have other kids working. We have other kids that have family issues. And a lot of the times I think that's what weighs down on Rogers in general, is that we're not the population of Portsmouth. We're not the population of Middletown. We're on the same island, but we're not. A lot of these Portsmouth teams, Middletown teams, they don't have half their kids at work during the week. They don't.
Well, we appreciate you for recognizing that in the kids and working with them and growing them as a team and human beings and being there for them. We're here less about the score of the game, but, more about the outcomes of the kids, which I think maybe you might be equal about that. But we recognize that you are a champion for kids, and thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, an absolute honor, and thank you for welcoming me onto the podcast. You guys have been fantastic. And I truly appreciate the conversations we've had. And like I said, I'm just trying to build a culture here and trying to do something bigger than myself, bigger than the 11 people that play on the field, and bigger than the people that are enrolled in the programs. I want this to build a culture, so that 5-6 years from now, the 3rd grader who's a baby right now can't even speak his own words, his first words is Rogers soccer.
There you go.
It's a long road. And I think, a lot of people have been asking, is like, oh, what about next year? What about 2 or 3 years? What about 4 or 5 years from now? And it's like, it is a long road. And, we have our goals, and I think the best way to set goals is short, achievable goals as you move towards a long-term goal. But we're doing well at achieving our short-term goals. We're about 3 points away from making playoffs. I think would be the first time in 28 or 27 years over at Rogers. But we don't get there unless, like I said, foundationally, where everyone's building up, everyone's trying to be better themselves. And as we all get better individually, collectively as a unit and as a team, we'll all get better. So
I have no doubt you're gonna get there. We can't thank you enough. You've educated
thank you
us.
very much. Thank you very much. Anytime, you would like to have me back, or, you would like to speak some more, like I said, I would love to, come back, love to talk and, hear what other questions and comments you
Absolutely.
have to say. So
And if there's anything we can do for you, reach out, let us know.
hey, don't threaten me with a good time. I keep telling that to people. Everyone keeps telling it to me. Everyone keeps saying, Coach, anything you need me to do, you let me know. And I'm like,
That wish list
okay.
together.
Yeah, because I'm gonna remember in a couple weeks from now, in a couple months from now. But thank you very much. I like I said, I truly appreciate it. Totally Preventable. You guys have been awesome. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great day.
You
As
too.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Holly, and you've just listened to Totally Preventable.
Totally preventable.
Totally preventable, totally preventable.
Totally preventable.